Soul Rising is an all-original commercial pop rock band. They are a group of individuals of completely different ages, genders, nationalities, cultural backgrounds, religions, and sexual orientations coming together to create beautiful, heartfelt music. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Michael, the bass player in the band, here today. Michael, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome, man. I'm super excited to hear about Soul Rising. Can you tell me a little bit about, seems like you guys are pretty new on the scene and forming in your formation. Can you kind of walk me through like the origin of the band and how you guys got started?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing original music and financing bands in Los Angeles for a long time. It's been a dream of mine since high school, basically. So I put together a band around an original singer named Candace about 9 years ago. Okay. And she took off. Yeah, the band stayed together. We found a new singer, and then the band slowly evolved into better and better musicians and better vocalists. I've been with the drummer, Sandro Feliciano, for about 8 years. I've been with the guitarist, Stig Matheson, about 7 years. And then we recently found the lineup of singers that we have now. We have Kadia Handon doing the Nicolette Holman doing harmonies, and Angela Michael doing harmonies, and the three of them kind of came together at the same time about 2 years ago. So it's the first time I've had a vocal front line that's as strong as the instruments behind them and as committed as the instruments have been. So we finally have a unit. So it seems like it's new, but I've been at it for quite a while, especially with the instruments.
Wow, that's awesome. So how did you get involved in music? You said this has been kind of a lifelong, endeavor. What drew you to music at a young age and has kind of made you stick with it so long?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I was raised by both my parents are academic science PhDs in chemistry and math. So I was never really oriented towards music, but my mom played acoustic guitar a little bit when I was a kid. And then I heard the music of Hendrix and Sly and the Family Stone. And then I heard the music of Yes. And the moment I heard Yes, my soul recognized something familiar in that and the spiritual orientation of it. And I started pursuing music like that. I picked up a bass at 17. I've been playing stuff all the way through college, and then I went to med school. And once I got to Los Angeles and got set up, I tried to do music as a hobby, and it kind of took over.
That's awesome. Well, super cool to hear that Yes has had a huge influence on you. I know one of my favorite all-time bass players, Les Claypool, he always plays a roundabout anytime he picks up a bass to get an idea of whether it's a good bass or not. So,
funny.
Yeah, so it's funny to hear that that's kind of what drew you in. Good stuff. So how long is the current lineup? Because you said you've kind of tweaked things a little bit over time. How long has the current lineup been playing together for?
About 2 years. We've been with these singers about 2 years.
Fantastic. And are you guys working on any releases? Have you guys put out? It sounds like you put out this single pretty recently.
Exactly. So I forgot to mention that we got our keyboardist Sandy is the youngest and the newest addition to the band. We got her about 1.5 years ago, and she's like the icing on the cake that makes the band solid. She's flamboyant and a great player and a great performer, good energy, and just brings vitality to the group that didn't have before. So now we're releasing our first single called Not the One, came out yesterday as a video and a single. We're going to do digital distribution of that, and then 45 days from now, we're going to follow up with another single called Dead. And we've accumulated enough investment money that with Dead, we're going to try to get limited top 40 radio play on rock stations and try to get up into the 1 million, 2 million listens, likes, views, whatever those terms are, and then try to take it to some indie labels at that point.
Very cool. Can you kind of walk me through, because some bands might not know even where to start with stuff like that, of finding capital and things like that. How did you go about that?
Let me tell you, it's been a very long and hard battle for me to do this. And the first thing I've advised to anybody is you got to get a stable job, man. You have to have a job that you can fall back on. Unless you're like a super talented musician or you're raised to do music professionally, which I was not. You got to have some kind of a job to keep your day-to-day life going and to have seed money to do stuff with the band. You got to cover basic stuff like CD duplication, recording costs, rehearsal costs. That stuff adds up, and you got to have some way of generating income. And then after that, you got to get to the point on your own financing to make it acceptable or polished enough to where you can present it to investors to try to get help with your finances. Unfortunately for me, early on, I came across a guy who was back in a gospel group that fell apart, and he put $100,000 into the act like years ago, and he died subsequently. But by that time, I was able to go to med school, and I financed it myself, and then I got odd jobs, and then I got additional investors along the way. So I always had help from God, basically, through different people around me that were helping me with the band along with my own efforts.
Wow, I love that. That's an awesome story. I guess, are you guys signed to a label right now, or are you still independently operating, or like what does that look like?
It's completely independently operated. I've worked like 3 or 4 jobs right now around the clock, literally 24 hours a day to pay for everything myself. I got some additional investments for some outside people, and we're at the point of doing as much. We're at the stage where we're trying to build it up to the point to where an indie will look at it. And that means you got to have 1 or 2 million YouTube views. You got to have 1 or 2 million Spotify plays, something like that. I'm just doing my first release. I'm nowhere near those numbers, and I'm trying to get from A to B to where an independent label will even look at it.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, can you kind of talk to us a little bit about Not the One, the song we're going to play today, and do a little introduction for us, please?
Yeah. Not the One was written by an outside writer named Adrian Jones, because there's a wide range of ages and musical tastes in the band. I try to hire young outside writers to either write the songs completely or work with our lead vocalist to make songs that fit her range and fit her style and her personality. So that keeps the music fresh. So Not the One is written about, it's written from a woman's viewpoint about being strong, self-reliant, and resistant to being used or manipulated by men, and being your own, it can apply to anybody, of course, being your own self-determining agent and not being used or diverted from your cause or your goal or your purpose by people who don't have your best interest at heart. So I'm not the one, is what you're telling them.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, so here is a song called Not the One by Soul Rising.
You thought your words could bring me down like cold weather. You should have known better. You think you got me wrapped around like a rope tether. I could have done better. I know you think that you are the one, but that's just not true. I could choose anyone. I got you begging. Get off your hands and your knees. You should have known someone like me. Would love to see you watch me leave. It won't matter tomorrow. We're finished what we just begun. I won't be drowning in sorrow. You should have known I'm not the one. I'm not the one. These days I sleep with one eye open like we're still together. Wish I'd have known better. You had me thinking this was love, that was so clever. 'Cause now I know better. I know you think that I fall apart, but that's just not true. I'm already moving on. I got you begging. Get off your hands and your knees. You should have known someone like me. Would love to see you watch me leave. It won't matter tomorrow. We finished what we just begun. I won't be drowning in sorrow. You should have known I'm not the one. 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 There was a time I ignored the signs, but I finally let them pass by. It wasn't long till we crashed and burned when the fire cleared. I left you behind, and all that you had left is your life. It won't matter tomorrow. No, I won't be drowning. I'm not the one. I'm not the one. I'm not the one.
All right, everyone, that was a song called Not the One by Soul Rising. A really well done music video, by the way. Who did you team up with to put that out?
Okay, so I'm always, because I'm not trained in this and I'm not familiar with this and I'm the oldest guy in the band, I'm out of touch with the new technologies and social media manipulation and all that. So I'm always running ads to ask for people to work with me to give me advice and guidance and consultation. So I did that. I interviewed about 8 people, and I met Attila Toth-Bathory, who's from Hungary. He's got extensive experience doing single promotions for major labels like Interscope. He generally deals with $60,000 to $250,000 a month budgets to handle major label releases. So he's got all the contacts and all the experience necessary to do that. And he, on the side, chooses independent acts that he thinks are, have some potential to work with outside of his major label contacts. So I was able to meet him, sit down with him, have a long conversation, and I didn't even know the language he was speaking, but I got some other people who did to listen to him, and they recommended that I go with him over all the others. So he put together the crew that shot the video. He put together the look of the band in the video. We got the stuff mixed by Michael Blue at a place called Revolver Studios in Los Angeles. Michael Blue is a really nice guy who owns a fabulous recording facility in Thousand Oaks, and he's got 2 Platinum Record Awards for Colby Calais and One Republic. Very nice person, understands where I'm coming from. By the way, I'm a recovering crack addict. I did crack for 20 years. I've been sober for 9 years. The release of the single coincides with my 9th sobriety birthday yesterday, the 2nd, and Mike was...
Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks, man. So I do everything from a spiritual point of view, a heart-driven point of view, and Attila and Mike both kind of get that, and they're a great fit for me. And the production on the recording is great from the visual standpoint as well as the recording standpoint because of the type of people I'm able to work with. I'm lucky to blessed to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone should be really proud of it because I think it turned out, really, really well. It's an awesome music video. Yeah, 100%. So out there in LA, are there any kind of under the radar artists that you guys gig with or friends with that you think people should hear about? Want to give a quick shout out to?
That's a good question. Yes, there are. There is a fabulous singer named Tina Aldana, who's Spanish, who won The Voice in Mexico. She was born in a small town in Texas. She came out here with her family. She's doing well, being sponsored by Disney, and she's a wonderful person with a wonderful family, a great voice. We used to work with her. I recommend her highly. And I worked with a lot of great singers, but I would recommend Tina Aldana as the person to watch of all the unsigned acts I'm aware of right now.
Awesome. So what can people expect from you guys? I know you mentioned, you have some kind of releases out on the schedule, but in terms of like tour dates, things like that, do you have any big gigs coming up or planning to tour or anything like that?
So the next thing I'm trying to do is to release, I'm trying to get this first single up into the hundreds of thousands of views and likes. Then I'm trying to get the next one that comes out in 45 days up into the millions of views and likes. Mm-hmm. At that point, I can take it to an indie label who will partner with me in terms of investing in the band. Then I can get agencies like Golden Voice or Nederlander or Spaceland or people like that book 1,000 to 1,500 seat venues. So I can get them to take us on and pay us to do opening act spots. At this point, I'm basically paying to play to these sharp promoters in Los Angeles because the market here is so saturated. There's like 8,000 original bands competing for spots. The promoters they book a main act that draws, anyone from 500 to a couple thousand, and then they can charge an opening act to $1,000 to $1,500 to play 30 minutes in front of a crowd. And there's a great market for that because it's so saturated here in LA. That doesn't work outside of Los Angeles, but here, there's a thriving market where people do what's called pay to play, and I'm still stuck in that until I can become a headliner at a small venue that's 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we wish you nothing but the best of luck as you embark upon this journey, and I think you guys have some good music, and so, I think you got as good a chance as anyone to make this dream a reality, my friend.
Thank you very much for that. I'm trying with all my heart, sir.
Absolutely. Well, so where can people find you? Social media, where can they find your music, things like that?
We have a website, soulrisingband.com. We're on Instagram under Soul Rising Band. I'm always posting about the band on Michael McBay on Facebook, MICHAELMCBAY, Michael McBay on Facebook. And there's also Soul Rising on Facebook. And those are the major ways with finding it right now. The new single's going to be on Spotify and iTunes and all that in a couple of weeks. We're in the middle of negotiating that stuff right now.
Awesome. Well, Michael, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone, be sure to check out Soul Rising as they continue their journey and continue to release some awesome music. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
It's an honor to be on your show, sir. Thank you very much, and all the best to you as well.
Thanks.